Congregation Bible Study for the week of August 17 to 23, 2026. Chapter 4. The first man to wage a righteous war. Practical comments. Abraham. The first man to wage a righteous war. For discussion. In what ways did Abraham show courage during this part of his life? Based on the account, Abraham showed remarkable courage by pursuing the combined armies of 4 mighty kings to rescue his nephew Lot. Even though Abraham was a nomadic shepherd and vastly outnumbered with only 318 trained servants, he did not let fear hold him back. He could have easily made excuses or reasoned that Lot brought the trouble on himself. Instead, Abraham knew what Jehovah wanted him to do. Relying completely on God, he boldly attacked the marauders by night, proving that true courage is rooted in strong faith in Jehovah. Dig deeper. Question 1. What archaeological evidence supports the accuracy of this account? Archaeological discoveries confirm the historical accuracy of Genesis chapter 14 in 2 main ways. First, inscriptions reveal that the Elamites were a powerful nation, and archaeologists have found names strikingly similar to the invading kings mentioned in the Bible. For example, Babylonian tablets contain names like Cuterlamo, which matches King Kedorlaomer. Second, excavations in the Transjordan and Negev regions show the sudden catastrophic destruction of impressive settlements around 1900 BCE. This physical evidence perfectly matches the Bible's timeline of Kedorlaomer's destructive invasion, which occurred shortly after Abraham arrived in Canaan in 1943 BCE. Question 2. What geographical evidence supports the Bible's description of Sodom and Gomorrah? Geographical evidence strongly points to the southern end of the Salt Sea as the location of Sodom and Gomorrah. First, the phrasing of Genesis 14 verse 3 suggests that the ancient low plain of Siddim is now submerged under the Salt Sea. Second, the southeastern shore remains highly fertile today, producing abundant vegetation, which matches the Bible's description of the area being well watered, like the Garden of Jehovah. Finally, the large deposits of bitumen and salt found in this southern section directly align with the biblical record. Question 3. Melchizedek was king and priest of Salem. Where was Salem? Salem was the ancient city that was later known as Jerusalem. Both ancient Jewish tradition and scriptural evidence confirm this location. For example, the word Salem is directly incorporated into the name Jerusalem, and Psalm 76 verse 2 uses the name Salem in parallel with Zion. Furthermore, it is fitting that Melchizedek served as king and priest in the exact location where the Davidic kings, the Levitical priests, and ultimately Jesus Christ would later fulfill their divine roles. Question 4. How was Melchizedek a prophetic type of Jesus? Melchizedek was a prophetic type of Jesus in several striking ways. First, neither man inherited his priesthood through human descent like the Aaronic priests. Instead, both were directly appointed by Jehovah God. Second, just as Melchizedek was both a king and a priest, Jesus perfectly combines these roles as our heavenly king-priest. Finally, because the scriptures do not record Melchizedek's genealogy or death, he appears to have no beginning or end. This beautifully represents Jesus Christ, who was resurrected to an indestructible endless life to serve as our high priest forever. Reflect on the lessons. Abraham allowed Lot to take the best of the land. How can we imitate Abraham in our dealings with our family, our fellow believers, and others? We can imitate Abraham's unselfish spirit by not insisting on our own rights or preferences. When choices or minor disagreements arise with our family members, fellow believers, or neighbors, we can willingly yield. Instead of demanding the best for ourselves, whether it involves material things, personal preferences, or conveniences, we can lovingly put the interests of others first. By acting graciously, just as Abraham did, we preserve peace, demonstrate true Christian love, and bring praise to Jehovah. What do we learn from Abraham's willingness to rescue his nephew? Abraham didn't hesitate to risk his own safety to rescue his nephew Lot when he was taken captive. Today, we can imitate that courageous love by standing up for our spiritual brothers and sisters when they face trials or persecution. Whether it means defending them against false accusations from opposers, or providing practical help during times of natural disaster or economic hardship, we must be willing to sacrifice our own comfort. We trust that Jehovah will bless our courageous efforts to protect and support his faithful sheep. Or, Abraham's willingness to rescue Lot teaches us to have courage and confidence in Jehovah. Abraham was facing powerful enemy forces, but he did not allow fear or the apparent impossibility of the situation to stop him. He trusted that Jehovah would support him in doing what was right. Similarly, when our brothers or sisters need help, we should not hold back because a situation seems difficult or risky. Instead, we can pray for Jehovah's help and courageously do what we can to support them. In what other ways might you imitate the courage shown by Abraham in this account? Satan tried to destroy Abraham's family line, and today he uses the worldly pressures of Satan's system to spiritually capture Jehovah's servants, just as Lot was literally captured. We show courage by actively pulling our family and friends out of spiritual danger. If we see a brother slipping into bad associations, materialistic goals, or harmful entertainment, it takes courage to lovingly offer scriptural counsel. Like Abraham, we must not ignore the danger, but bravely step in to help rescue our spiritual family from Satan's snares. Or, I can imitate Abraham by being courageous when my worship or spiritual routine is challenged. Abraham was willing to leave his comfort zone and face danger because he knew what Jehovah wanted him to do. Today, I may need courage to speak about my faith, attend meetings despite difficulties, or maintain my spiritual habits when others discourage me. Like Abraham, I can focus less on the obstacles and more on Jehovah's promises, knowing that obedience to him is always the best course. Or, as the paragraph states, Jesus taught his followers to wage spiritual warfare, which requires just as much courage as physical combat. We imitate Abraham by fiercely defending Bible truth against apostate teachings and false religious doctrines. When our faith is challenged, we don't retreat. We courageously use the Bible, the sword of the Spirit, to dismantle strongly entrenched falsehoods and help free those taken captive by Satan's lies. It takes true bravery to stand firm for Jehovah's pure worship in a world blinded by the devil. Meditate on the bigger picture. What does this account teach me about Jehovah? I learn that Jehovah is far superior to Satan in wisdom and power. Satan targeted Abraham and Lot to disrupt the line leading to the promised offspring, Jesus. However, Jehovah completely thwarted Satan's plot. This teaches me that no matter how clever or fierce Satan's attacks may seem against Jehovah's organization or against us individually, Jehovah will always protect his faithful servants and fulfill his guarantees. Or, this account reveals that Jehovah bestows blessings through his appointed representatives. Jehovah sent Melchizedek, a king and priest, to bless Abraham after his victory. In a similar way today, Jehovah channels his spiritual guidance and blessings through Jesus Christ, our high priest, and through his congregation arrangement. Recognizing Jehovah's way of blessing us builds my appreciation for all of his spiritual provisions. How does this account tie in with Jehovah's purposes? The account ties directly into Jehovah's purpose to produce the promised offspring who would destroy Satan. Since Satan understood this, he desperately wanted to destroy Abraham's family to prevent the Messiah's arrival, which is why Lot was taken captive. But Jehovah fought for Abraham, granting him victory to protect that vital family line. By preserving Abraham's household, God ensured the physical nation would survive to produce Jesus. Today, Jesus leads God's spiritual nation, teaching us to show that same courage in our spiritual warfare. What would I like to ask Abraham or Lot in the resurrection? I would like to ask Abraham how he felt when he learned that Lot and his family had been taken captive, and what gave him the courage to face 4 powerful kings with only 318 trained men. I would also ask Lot how he felt when he saw Abraham arrive to free him. Or, when Abraham is resurrected, I want to ask him about his historic meeting with Melchizedek, the king-priest of Salem. I would ask, what was it like to receive Jehovah's blessing directly from him after such a long, exhausting battle? If you enjoy this congregation Bible study, please share and comment what you learn. And don't forget to subscribe.